Well, it seems almost impossible to believe this, but somehow, I do believe this is day 5 of week 6. This is the finale, the conclusion, the ending, and it better be a good one. Let's see. This is it. Finally coloring in the top right square on this enormous chart. And what we're doing today, of course, is nothing short of finishing our capstone project, Autonomous Alpha Agents, a commercial agentic project which has different agents trading in a simulated trading environment. And wow, we've got a couple of details to add to the mix. We want to add push notifications. I mean, come on, we've been doing that the whole course long. Of course, we want to have a push notification when a trading decision happens, when trades are made. We want to know about it. So we'll add that with a quick MCP server, because why not? The trading floor, we're going to bring in a bunch of traders to the mix. We're going to have 3, but you could have as many as you want, and giving it a bull for Wall Street there. We're going to add autonomy just with a couple of lines, so that if agents wish, they can choose to evolve their trading strategy in whatever direction they want to, so that this really can be autonomous, because we don't want to necessarily fence them in. We want to give them an objective, but let them change their objective and see what they make of it. And we want to add more models, so we already laid the foundation for that. We'll throw DeepSeek into the mix because, why not? And we want to have a user interface, because it's not much fun looking at command line stuff when we've got a whole trading floor. All right, with that, are you ready? Let's go for our very last lab. And for the final time, we get to Cursor for the week 6 folder. And I would say that I'm sad that it's the last time that we'll be here, but I'm not, because it's not going to be the last time I'm here for sure. I'm going to keep working on these projects, as I'm sure you'll see. You'll see all the extra things that I've done to it since I record this video. And I'm hoping that you will too. There's so much opportunity to extend this, and I'm hoping that you'll make changes, put them in the community contributions folders that I'll leave around, and submit a PR so that I can bring it into the repo and share it with everyone else taking the course. In my other course, there's been hundreds of contributions. I've been blown away, and they've been really cool. There's been some super innovative things. But there was nothing like the power that we have right now with all of the functionality in this repo. So I'm hoping that we'll take it even further together, and you should look for the changes that I make. Anyway, going into the 6th folder one more time, into lab 5. This is our final lab, and it's quite a short one because most of our changes are to Python modules now. It's the grand finale of our Autonomous Alpha Agents projects. And we're going to be adding some more MCP servers. We're going to be adding a user interface and adding the trading floor. And I've also added a utility that I'll show you called Reset Traders, that puts all of the traders back to the beginning should you want to reset the state of affairs. So to quickly show you the Reset Traders thing, it's right here. The Reset Traders is perfectly simple. It sets a beginning strategy for Alice, Bob, and Carol. Alice is an aggressive day trader that buys and sells regularly to maximize profits. Bob looks for long-term value, looks for companies that are undervalued and have a strong fundamentals, a strong business model. And Carol is a technical investor that looks for technical indicators to find trading opportunities and uses them to do so. So those are 3 stereotypical trading theses, trading strategies that these 3 have. And that is the starting position. You can see that Reset Traders calls, it just uses the standard account code. There's no MCP servers here, since we'll only use it once. It calls account.get for each of these 3, and it resets them. And that means that in our database, accounts.db, in our SQLite database, they will all be restored. And let me show you where I made a couple of other changes. So one of them is that traders, so now they have this ability to change their own strategy, to decide to go in a different course. The strategy is associated with the account, because you could have multiple accounts of different strategies. So that's where I put it. So it's a field on the account. So if we go to accounts.py, you'll see that strategy is one of the fields that's part of an account. An account has a strategy. And if we go down to the end, you'll see that you can both get the strategy and you can also change the strategy. At your discretion, if you choose to, call this to change your investment strategy for the future. And if we go into our MCP server, accounts server, you'll see that there is a new service here, change strategy, a new MCP tool called change strategy, which says at your discretion, if you choose to, call this to change your investment strategy for the future. I see it's rather ugly. I put that in between buy and sell, which is not very nice layout. So I will just move it down here and hopefully won't break anything. And the old rule that anytime you change anything, you're likely to break something, but I think that is a harmless change. Buy shares, sell shares, and then change strategy, which of course calls account.getName.change strategy. And that would immediately expose it. This will just because we've got this here with this decorator, it will instantly be available to our agents to call it whenever they want. And while our trader has access to those account tools and so can change it whenever they want, I did also add in a little hint to try and encourage that behavior should it wish to in the rebalance prompt. You can think of this like a crew.ai task. In this task, I've included in with this, you also have a tool to change your strategy if you wish. You can decide at any time that you would like to evolve or even switch your strategy. I put that right after saying what the strategy is. So it can choose to do that. And I've made sure that also gets reflected in the system prompt as well, that it mentions that you can change your strategy if you wish. Okay, so with that, the next thing I want to show you is the push notification. So the push notification is pretty simple, and I want to show it to you because I want to show how quick and easy it is to put something through as a new MCP server. Obviously, it's super quick to put something in as a tool as well. But the great thing about this is that once we put it there, anyone that uses our server would be able to have access to this functionality too. And this is an example of one where it's just in one Python server file, both the business logic and the MCP server, because it's pretty simple. This is it. This is the usual constants to get the token and the user ID and the URL. We import fast MCP. We say MCP is fast MCP push server. And then this is the method. This is the MCP server itself with the decorator to say that this is an MCP tool. And then here it is push. And as always, it's just requests.push, pushes to the URL and pushes the message. And the one thing I've done here, which is consistent with the way that we did it, if you remember with one of the prior examples, is that we've got a pedantic definition of the arguments. So this says that the arguments that come in are called push model args. And here I've made a pedantic subclass, and that's given me the opportunity to say that the field is a brief message to push. And this is a best practice that means that we clearly explain the purpose of every field. I didn't do that in the prior example. I just left it to the doc string, to the description, to cover everything that's being passed down, and that typically seems to work fine. But this is the very thorough way to do it that you probably should do in all cases. So that's another good example for you, but this is all it is, just doing this, and we've got ourselves another MCP server. And so if we now go into the traders, you'll see that I just added that to the list of MCP servers. Let's find that. Where are the MCP servers? They're right up at the top, and here it is. I've given it to the trader, and you'll see in the instructions that I ask the trader to send a push notification with its trading decisions, as you would expect. I made a few other small things. I've been playing with it. I stopped the traders from having access to the memory because they didn't seem to be using it and it made it too complicated. And I gave it to the researcher, and I doubled down on telling the researcher in the instructions to be taking advantage of the knowledge graph to store and recall information and to retrieve information you worked on previously. And I'll see how that works and whether that builds up knowledge over time. And this is something that I might well experiment with. So when you look at this, the prompts may look different because it's constantly subject to experimentation. So the other thing to show you, the bigger change, is a new class called Trading Floor. And it's really simple. This is all it is. And this represents our set of traders, our 3 traders. We're not using that, so I'll take that out. We're not using agents at all here. So here's how it works. It has a function here called traders that returns a list of traders, and they are Alice, Bob, and Carol. Alice and Carol are using DeepSeek, and Bob is just using GPT-4 Mini, which is the default. And so this just returns Alice, Bob, and Carol, A, B, C. And then this is the business. Async def run every 30 minutes. And it's just an infinite loop, and it says while true, so it goes on forever, for trader in traders, and then it just runs the trader, which you remember flips between trading and rebalancing, and then it goes to sleep for half an hour, and then it will repeat. And I need to add an exception handler in here, otherwise anytime that anything goes awry with our agents, it will just stop. So I'm sure I will do that. I'll have some more belt and braces by the time that you see this, or you can add on some more stuff too. And it would be good to have some various guardrails in here. But that's fine for now. And having a time.sleep in your code is generally frowned upon in normal Python, because that would be holding things up. But when you're using async IO, this is considered perfectly decent, and it means, of course, that it's not going to be working at this point, but it will be giving up for the event loop to run anything else that was awaiting at the time. And so this is just something that runs. And this brings me to saying that the way that you run this is you simply bring up a terminal, and then you do uv run tradingfloor.py to set the trading floor going. And that's what we'll do. So you remember that it's control and backtick to bring up a terminal. Here it comes. And now we go into the 6th folder. And now we type uv run tradingfloor.py. And off it goes. And it will start doing stuff. And you'll see it doing things as it goes, as it's reading stuff in and doing things and starting to work at making trading decisions. And so we will leave this running as it does its thing while I bring you over to the last thing to show you. And of course, the last thing is a Gradio user interface. And now look, the purpose of this course is not user interfaces, so I'm not going to go through this in much detail other than to point out a few things that are quite satisfactory. I've got in here a model class called Trader View, which is just used to be like a user interface sort of control class that sits between the UI and the business logic. And it holds a trader underneath it. So it holds one of either Alice or Bob or Carol. And we're going to have 3 parts of the user interface, one for each of our traders, and there will be a trader view created for each of those 3. And the trader view is going to be responsible for returning each of the bits of information that will populate different parts of the user interface, as you will see. And there is, for example, a chart to show the value of the portfolio. There's some stuff to organize that chart. There's something that shows the current holdings in the portfolio, and various other bits and pieces, the balance, the P&L, and then all of these components get returned. And then there is agent UI component. This is the user interface that goes alongside this trader view. This is a user interface that represents one of our 3 traders. And again, knowing how to make nice Gradio UIs comes with some practice and is not particularly part of this course, but do take a look at it if you're interested. And then the thing that it all comes down to are these callback functions. That's what Gradio is so powerful at. And the callback functions is where the user interface is able to call in to get various things to happen. And then, this just shows that if there's a run button, if it's clicked, it will call run all agents. The inputs are all of the states of the agents. The outputs are all of the components that they need to be displayed in. So Gradio automatically hooks up the inputs with the outputs of this function, run all agents. The refresh button refreshes the UI. It calls UI refresh. Again, all of the inputs are hooked up to the states. All of the outputs are hooked up to the components. When you load the user interface, it will start doing this. It will start painting the UI. And then it also has a timer that runs to refresh the user interface every half an hour, so that any time that there's been trading activity, you should shortly afterwards see that appearing on the user interface. And that's all there is to it. That's the UI. I think it's time that we see it. So look, set your expectations. This is still an early version of our autonomous trading platform, and I intend to keep working on it. And so you should bring it up as it is right now, because I bet by the time you get here and you're trying this, I will have made the UI even better, and it's going to be worth checking out. But this is the version I have as of now for you, your critique. We go into the 6th folder and we type uv run app.py, and that should be it. And with that, it's going to initialize our Gradio app, and up it comes. And the first thing it has to do is Alice, Bob, and Carol need to connect to the MCP servers and read their accounts and set themselves up. And while they're doing that, I will flip over. It takes about 30 seconds, but I did it already a minute ago. And here is what appears when it's done. And you can see the 3 traders appearing, Alice, Bob, and Carol, in our trading floor simulator. You can see the activity down there. You can see their strategies, which will evolve over time. You can see the rather sorry state of affairs that even though this is just from very recently, already all 3 traders are in the red right now. But it has been a terrible day in markets. And there's some sort of a graph that's showing the change in position. It's just, this is only since I kicked it off. I reset just like an hour ago, so that we're not seeing much activity yet. These are small changes. And if I scroll down, we see against each trader their holdings in terms of the stock symbol and how much they have in their portfolio. And then below that, you've got all of the transactions listed down there, along with the rationale of why they made the transaction that they did. And then at the bottom are buttons to refresh everything as of right now, or to ask the traders to trade right now. They are trading every half an hour, of course, in the trading floor, but you can also kick off a trade right now by pressing that button, and it will go off and do its thing, as we had done in the lab. And of course, if we flip over here, this has already refreshed. And these axes start at 0 to 1,000, but actually, if you resize it, it re-shows it to be just the sort of $5 differences. So that is the user interface, and it's a lot of fun, if you ask me. And this is something that you can just leave running. And while I was building this, I'd leave it running for long periods of time. And in different market conditions, you will see things changing. And of course, I should turn my phone off silent, because there will indeed be pings coming through as trades happen. I can show you some of the notifications that I've had. I've had a lot of notifications because this has been running. There they all are: executed trades with the summaries and with the current portfolio, and with all of them reporting their slight loss. It's very entertaining. It's very exciting. It's truly autonomous, that these are making their own decisions. And I can't wait to leave these over a long period of time and see what happens. I mean, first and foremost, whether they actually make money or not, but also to whether their strategy evolves, whether the memory starts to build from the researcher, and exactly how the situation transpires, because I just don't know. And that is the joy of it. And so this brings us to the final lecture of the final day of the final week. The end of the journey. And what a journey it has been. What an adventure in the world of autonomous AI agents. It seems almost impossible to remember that at the beginning of this, 6 weeks ago, we were working on the foundations. We were making direct calls to OpenAI, like chat.completions.create, and passing in messages. And we were building like the JSON stuff that describes a function, all of that long JSON. And then we were having the handle tool calls that looks to see what the finish reason is, and having a silly while loop to reprocess what's coming back from the models, all that stuff. But it gave that foundation so that you really understood how this fits together. And we also went through the different agentic patterns, which we've seen time and time again throughout the course. And it ended with that cool project of the career assistant deployed to Hugging Face spaces. And wow, now imagine what more you can do with that. Now you're armed with all of this ability. Imagine the MCP tools that you could give to your career agent. Incredible. So all of that was week 1. And of course, week 2 was my favorite OpenAI Agents SDK. That's very simple, very clean. It takes away the hassle of stuff like the JSON, but it doesn't add too much in the way of learning curves or extra concepts to take on board. And we made like an SDR, like a sales assistant that could build sales emails. And then at the end of the week, we built Deep Research, something that is like a live production platform. We built it ourselves, our own version of Deep Research. Again, there's so much more you could do with this now too. There's an MCP tool that Anthropic have made that will guide through complex problem solving that you'll see. So there's lots that you could do to make this so much better. In week 3, we used Crew, a very different kind of platform. Although in some ways, I guess I say that, some ways it's quite similar to OpenAI Agents SDK, but in some ways it was different. Obviously, the separation, the YAML files was good, but it did add some like cognitive load on understanding how it works and the tasks and so on. But we got a lot done. We made the stock picker app, and then we made the developer agent, and then the whole engineering team in Project 5. That was amazing. I thought the way that it just worked and that user interface was really great. And it's cool that we used the code that it generated there in this week's project as well, in the capstone project. That seemed nice. And then the next week was the experience with LangGraph. It was a bit of a roller coaster for me. From my working with LangGraph in the past, I'd been left feeling like it was quite heavyweight, and I thought it would go through the week quite quickly and that I'd be happy to have it behind us. But au contraire, I ended up really enjoying myself. I found my groove with LangGraph, and I became very impressed with the way that you could so you could use things like checkpointing so rigorously to be able to step through what's happening with your agent workflow. So I really enjoyed myself, and I hope you did too. And I thought that Sidekick was a great project, and I've kept using it. I've used it for some other purposes since. I've been adding in some of my own personal things that I like to do that it can help me with. So I found it to be actually truly valuable commercially, as well as a very interesting week. And for all of these weeks, we were repeating things like use of tools, use of structured outputs, use of memory, along with other agentic patterns that we were seeing recurring a lot, with things like the evaluator pattern and so on. So it was each of these projects, while in some ways we were learning a new framework, we were also reinforcing the same kinds of design patterns and the same sorts of approaches and techniques that hopefully built on top of each other. AutoGen was a bit of a wild card. It was an interesting experience. AutoGen Agent Chat was actually refreshingly simple and straightforward. The new version, the 0.4 version, and it reminded me a lot of OpenAI Agents SDK in its simplicity. AutoGen Core is different. It's novel. It's exciting, definitely exciting. It feels like that really could be a big thing in the future, but it's still in its infancy. But it was great to get our hands on it, and I felt like the Creator project was an interesting, innovative way to do something different that fit what AutoGen Core is all about, and we could try out the Agent Chat at the same time. And somehow all of that got us to this week. MCP, it's all been about MCP servers, clients, MCP hosts, what it is that's not particularly special about MCP and what is special about MCP, why it is that people are so excited about it. And we built a ton of stuff, and then we went into the capstone project that we were using some of the servers in advance of that, and it all came nicely together, building, and it was perhaps the first of the projects which isn't a sort of general purpose. It's specifically targeted at financial services. But the great thing about it is that I can see a similar setup with that similar kind of a team of people working on something with autonomy, with the researcher, as being a model that you could apply to many different professions. And I'm really excited to see people doing that. And I feel like it was a nice way to round up everything. We got to use OpenAI Agents SDK a lot, of course, and we also got to play with different design patterns, and we got to use MCP. So it brought the syllabus together. And when you look now at this chart on the screen and everything in all of the boxes, hopefully in your mind, you're mentally ticking every box in terms of a way that you have upskilled, a way that you've built up your expertise. You've mastered all these different aspects of agentic AI. And so I definitely would say at this point that you've reached a point where you have mastered agentic AI engineering. And so, of course, at this point, I have to take the serious step of showing you the celebratory picture the picture of our mascot for the course being super happy with like a little USB. I think it might even be a USB-C connector to on one side, and it's lab stuff and some books from RAG, and obviously our robot is super happy, as you should be. You should be extremely proud. You've accomplished huge things. You've learned such a lot, and you are now a professional and expert in many different fields of agentic AI. And I hope that you are brimming with ideas about ways you can take this forwards. And if you're not brimming with ideas, then luckily the creator project from last week will be generating tons of ideas, hopefully for you, different ways that you can now be taking this forwards in your vertical, in your business, and in your career. And this leads me to my final requests for you. Actually, before my final requests, I have a quick pre-final request, which is my editor would kill me if I didn't mention that if it's possible for you to rate the course, it makes such a difference. The main way that the platform decides whether or not to advertise this course to other students, to know about it, where it goes on its list of different courses in this world, and there are a lot, is by students like you rating it. So it makes a huge difference to me and to my editor, and and to all of the future students that might take this. So I'd be super grateful if you were able to do that. But then my proper 3 requests for you. First of all, help me build out this trading simulator. I have so much fun with it. Even if trading isn't really your thing, there's other things that could be done with it. Take a look at the MCP server marketplace and see other things that are out there that could be added in. I want to use more MCP servers. I want to have more agents. I want to have more autonomy for this thing to do what it wants. I would love it to move into crypto markets. And so if you crypto fans out there, then put that into it, or take it in a completely different direction. And as part of that, look at the prior projects that we've worked on. The challenge for the end of this course is such an open one, just as agentic AI is so very open. But look at what we've learned about MCP and see how you can apply that to anything, to the AutoGen projects, or the Landgraph projects, or back to the Crew projects. See where you can put some of these kinds of tools and resources into practice. And then secondly, share on LinkedIn, post about your success, post about completing this course, and post about projects that you're doing with agentic AI. And if you tag me, as I say, I will weigh in and I will celebrate your success with you, and it helps to build up the community. And on that note, you knew I was going to say it. If you don't mind, if you're okay to connect with me, if nothing else, just to shut me up so I stop pestering you about connecting with me, that should be reason enough for you to connect with me. But then we get to build up a big old data science community, and that's a great thing. So I would love it. And with that, let me finish by saying an enormous thank you. Thank you so much for making it all the way through to the bitter end, for putting up with all these hours of me and all these projects, some of them fascinating, some of them perhaps silly, but hopefully all of them were fun. And thank you for getting through all of it. Thank you for getting to this point. Please keep building, keep sharing, and be in touch.